Batman is one of my favorite characters in all of fiction. Batman is strong, smart, capable, and rich. But more than that, he has an unshakable moral standard that defines him and makes him unlike most other heroes. While almost all heroes eschew killing their enemies, only Batman is known for his rule of no killing. This is where many live-action adaptations of the character fail to properly portray him. A Batman who kills is not Batman. Batman's driving motivation is the redeeming of a city everyone has given up on. The police are corrupt, the politicians are corrupt, and the people have given up hope. Into this malaise of apathy steps the Dark Knight. In his career as Gotham's protector, Batman has faced a number of foes with ranging abilities and challenges for the Caped Crusader, whether they be physical, mental, or moral, testing some of the Batman's greatest crime-fighting skills. Each enemy represents the opposite of Batman in some way, and thus helps to highlight a positive attribute of the character. Batman is a warrior. He can stand against the strongest of opponents. Batman possesses a great physical strength and can best the average foe in hand-to-hand combat. But his skills are truly tested when he comes up against a foe whose strength surpasses his own, such as Bane, Killer Croc, and Clayface. Batman has a world-class intellect, often called the world's greatest detective, but foes like the Riddler, Ra's al Ghul, and Doctor Strange force Batman to come up with creative solutions to overcome them. Batman has a strong moral compass and is resolute in his morality, which is often challenged by the Joker, who is often portrayed as chaos embodied. Throughout the nearly 100 years of Batman's existence, he has been portrayed multiple times as a fighter, a ninja, and a detective. But there is one crucial aspect of Batman that has been neglected by most sources: his compassion. I mentioned this in my underrated Batman the Animated Series episodes when discussing the episode Baby Doll, but I think it deserves a fuller discussion. Batman risks his life on a nightly basis, fighting the most dangerous opponents in the world, some of them who actually traveled to Gotham to challenge him. Batman looks at each of these opponents as a victim of circumstance, just as he and his parents were victims of circumstance. Batman turned his pain into a drive to right the wrongs plaguing others, including those who were the ones plaguing the city themselves. In Batman's mind, if he can fix them, he can fix himself. The result is an outpouring of mercy and compassion. Yes, he fights his enemies, doling out physical punishment when necessary and outsmarting them in feats of mental fortitude, but he always brings them in alive and does what he can to help them. This aspect of Batman is most clearly seen in Batman the Animated Series. My previous example was from the episode Baby Doll, where Batman goes against a former child actress with a growth disability, forced to remain in the guise of a child for her entire life. After rescuing her victims, he chases her into a funhouse, where she stands before a distorted mirror and sees herself as the woman she would never be. In her sadness, she stands broken, and Batman offers her sympathy. When facing Mr. Freeze for the first time in Heart of Ice, Batman watches as the villain leaves one of his men behind, who inadvertently fell victim to Mr. Freeze's freeze gun. Instead of leaving the man to suffer the consequences of his bad decisions, meaning the loss of his legs, Batman brings the man back to the Batcave and works to save him. In Harley's Holiday, another of the episodes in my underrated episode list, we see Harley Quinn released from Arkham with a clean bill of mental health. However, a misunderstanding at a store leads to a confrontation over a dress. Harley paid for the dress, but the security tag was not removed. When the alarm sounded, she assumed that they suspected her of stealing it. Concluding that no one will ever give her a second chance, she reverts back to her criminal ways, kidnaps a woman, and goes on the run. The episode is a fun adventure with Harley and her hostage/friend fleeing across the city with Batman, Harvey Bullock, a criminal boss, and a tank in hot pursuit. After Harley is finally caught and returned to Arkham, we see Batman's compassion once again.
There's one thing I gotta know. Why'd you stay with me all day, risking your butt for someone who's never given you anything but trouble?
I know what it's like to try and rebuild a life. I had a bad day too, once.
Batman knows what it's like to have a bad day, so he's willing to grant grace to someone else who's having a bad day. These are some of the more blatant examples of Batman acting to help those who would just as soon see him dead than anything else. The show is also replete with examples of Batman offering to help his enemies resolve the issue driving them to crime, or judging those who fail to show the criminals the dignity due to them. However, the best example of Batman's greatest attribute is to be found not in Batman the Animated Series, but in Justice League Unlimited. In the Season 2 finale of Justice League Unlimited, we are treated to a Batman-centric episode called Epilogue. In the episode, Terry McGinnis, Batman of the future, learns that he is a clone of Bruce Wayne, created to take the mantle when Bruce grew too old. He suspects that Bruce masterminded the whole thing, seeing him as a cold, emotionless manipulator of people's destinies. And elderly Amanda Waller tries to make him see the truth by telling him the story of Ace. Ace was taken by the government to be a part of Project Cadmus, an experimental operation designed to make people into weapons to combat metahumans. Ace was born with telekinetic powers, and Cadmus sought to control those powers and use them to its own ends. She eventually escaped, recruited others to join her Royal Flush Gang, and began to use her powers to change the world around her. This attracted the attention of the Justice League. Waller informed the League that Ace would soon die, an unfortunate side effect of her powers. Unfortunately, the psychic backlash from her death would have a ripple effect across the entire surrounding area, killing everyone within a radius of several miles. The only way to prevent this, according to Waller, was to get close to her and use a device to kill her. Batman volunteers, reasoning that his past association with Ace would allow him to get close to her. He walks into the fray and approaches the young superweapon. Ace is expecting him when he arrives, already knowing what he has been sent to do. By reading Batman's mind, she also knows that he has no intention of doing it.
I'm dying very soon.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Could you stay with me? I'm scared.
She knows she's dying, and he apologizes. In that moment, she is no longer the weapon Cadmus made her into. She's just a scared little girl who is afraid of dying. And Batman does the only thing he can. He sits with her and holds her hand. You can almost imagine Alfred doing the same for him after his parents were killed. He knows the value of a sympathetic presence. This is who Batman is. This is why the character has endured for so long. Though he is only human, his compassion for his enemies is his real superpower. He knows them better than any other and knows what they need. He knows them so well, he loves them, and that is why he refuses to kill. Batman is one of the best figures in fiction for many reasons, but his character is the primary driving force behind what makes him so popular. He is resilient, unyielding, and honorable, which prevents him from giving up on his enemies and taking the easy road when things get tough. Even though he is nearing 100 years old as a character, I think there are still countless stories to tell for future generations, as long as storytellers remember what makes the character so endearing. What do you think? Do you like Batman? If so, what do you like about him? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching.